Ben is in for, Ben Morris is in for Mark. Elizabeth is here, you are here, Don Bassey's here, Jim Steffies is here, and Mike DeFrancesco is here. And Luke McCoy is an observer.
All right, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. So we're going to call this to order, and we'll use that as a roll call. And did everybody have an opportunity to read the minutes?
Yes.
Yes.
Anybody have any concerns or issues with the minutes?
Well, I do, because you don't have the minutes. I didn't write them. I didn't submit them.
I don't think there
So
were
then we
any
can't,
minutes.
so then we can't approve them.
It was a trick question.
No. So we
They
can't
will be
approve
ready for the
minutes.
next meeting.
All right, so we're gonna move on to the citizens' petitions and comments. Are there any? No. Any town council referrals? Ben or anybody? Elizabeth?
Nothing.
No.
Okay. Correspondence, any correspondence or communications to?
I've actually got something.
Okay,
So sorry, it's going to slow the meeting down apparently, but
not at all.
but I don't know if you pay much attention to some of the sports at Fitch, but they have a fencing team, and it's a wonderful and inclusive environment. And there really is no feeder program in Groton to give the kids any experience with fencing before going to the high school. And there are other local communities where they have fencing offered in their parks and rec for activities as kids get older. And people who have children doing it for the first time in high school are wondering if that's something we might be able to look into starting up for Groton Parks and Rec.
Interesting.
Yes,
I know
I
communities have.
believe we have in the past, and we've revisited a couple times because it is so popular. And I don't know if it's lack of a coach, maybe the issue that the high school coaches weren't available, but we'll look into it again.
Thank you. And having a kid in the community, I can try to lay out feelers to see if anybody's willing to reach out if they're interested at all in starting one here. Is that okay if I give them your communication for it?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
The other thing, Francis, is I came from a district, Guilford, Connecticut, and they had a very good fencing program. And I believe they ran a fencing program through their middle school. So that might be something also between rec, between the district, the Groton School District. You may see, you might want to venture down that path as well, just to see or talk to the coach or whatever. But I know in Guilford, they had it in middle school as like a team club. Now, I don't know if they did it in collaboration with the rec department. I don't think so. But you might want to check with the schools or the athletic director.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Any other correspondence or communications? Commissioners, no correspondence or communication. Okay. Ben, this is your spotlight now, buddy.
So for the director's report, I'm assuming everybody's kind of looked at it and read through, so I won't go through it. But a couple of the highlights that he wanted me to point out was for kind of big thing right now, getting into budget season, that we're all preparing kind of our budgets for a first kind of go around to it. In the recreation budget, a couple of the things that we're going to be adding to it was translation services, to have the documents and a lot of our stuff that's going out there in multiple languages and having somebody on staff to be able, if we have language as a barrier, that we'll have somebody to go to help translate, I think also is falling into that. And then our special events budget, we have a new programmer on that started a few months ago. And so she's working through kind of planning out the year with a number of new special events that are kind of culturally sensitive on, probably a quarterly basis, as well as just kind of smaller neighborhood things, or maybe not out the neighborhood, but based out of the community center. So there will be some additional funding, I think, going into the budget for that. Parks, seasonal maintainer wages. They're looking at the part-time plan for all the part-timers in town that I think is due in January, which will hit kind of everybody, but I think maintainer wages, I think, were one of the things they've identified particularly low. So hopefully that's might be going up a little bit. And then they were looking for an additional full-time groundskeeper. Thrive is proposing a part-time social worker to assist seniors with needed services. The staff over there ends up doing a lot of it, or getting in touch with people. So we would be able to have somebody there, throughout the week that can directly help seniors with that.
So would that, out of curiosity, would that person come under the direction of recreation or social services? I'd be interested in that.
I think they would be working directly for Mary Jo, would be my understanding, if it's going in our budget. But I'm sure they'd be working in some collaboration with social services. I don't think at this time social services had somebody available to do it.
Okay. I was just, it just seems to me wrong. when I mean, to put it bluntly, you have a social services department. And
Well, it's broader than social services, though, Dom. Groton Human Services has a real array of things they're doing. And I think already their social workers are pretty well maxed out. And I think the problems that show up or manifest themselves at Thrive also require some different skill sets because of the geriatric component.
Yeah, I get that, but if I was gonna add a social person, I would add that to the human services, and under that umbrella, a person who is used to evaluating, observing people in that field, as opposed to recreation. And yeah, you're right about geriatric, but it's still under the social, but still be under social services. That's like anything, it's an opinion. Okay, but I think professionally,
I think your point's a good one.
I think professionally, it would be in that person's best interest to be overseen by human services, but working to the geriatric community, to Thrive 55. That's, again, that's an opinion, and perhaps we could talk about that another time.
And Mark could probably give more insight into if they've discussed it, like that, Mark's felt they couldn't handle it, or maybe they want kind of more oversight, and that the person eventually doesn't get yanked out to go do something else because they're as short staffed as everybody else. But
and that would probably happen, right?
Yeah, it could be a way just to have them for the seniors. And then Shenecosset, the 25% of the manager of golf and parks that was coming out of parks is being moved back into the Shenecosset budget. So his whole salary will be coming out of there. Let's see, from projects, there was presented the updated budget for Sutton Park, and the RTM did approve that last night. So that is the full amount. Now they're able to do that full skateboard project. I guess a number of the skateboarders showed up at the meeting as well, and so I think it helped push that forward.
So that's a good thing, right? I remember the whole project that they presented, with the swing set, skateboarders. So when they improved, that's a pretty big, increase, which I think from what Mark said, that project, had a lot of facets, and there was a reason why it was much more. When that occurs, does the town just have extra, I don't call it extra, but does the town have a bucket of money they pull from? Like, taxes go up? Like, when we make business decisions like this, how does it work? Because I know, like, we talked about the adding fields, and it would have to be like a bond or people vote. Like, any idea, any insight to that?
To where the additional money came from?
Yeah, like, is it just a pot that the town has, or like, how does it affect the taxpayer? Because it's a good amount. I'm not saying it's not a good use of money, but it's a good amount of funds they increased it to.
Right. I think from watching the town council money, it was coming from a number of different pockets. And it may be, and I don't want to speak to it because I don't know it exactly or have it in front of me. But I think there were a few different areas they were able to pull from, and the council felt strongly that doing it in one shot, that it wasn't mixing parts, and it was only going to get more expensive when we went back to not do it all at once. That they wanted to focus all that money into the skateboard part and then add those other components on. So they wanted to make sure there was enough money for the skate park expansion, and knowing everything else could be added kind of as pieces as it goes on without it being different transitions.
So the extra money was to fully outfit, do the skate park, but not the rest of the area there. Is that a good statement?
Exactly. Yeah. So I think, replacing the playground, it was pulled out of there. The second basketball court, the community gathering area. It was really to focus on that skate park area. I think that also, though, that it included the bathrooms, and I think it included doing some of those sight lines. I'm just pulling up the components now. So kind of those build outs will be added in kind of phases after.
Will the changes to the entrance to the park be included with this first phase of the skate park?
I believe that, yeah, like I believe those transitions from the sidewalk, all of that kind of around that beginning area is what was included there.
Okay, thanks.
Dominic, it's Jim. I don't know about, I'm listening to the answers that were given to Michael's question. I feel a little uncomfortable asking Ben to answer these questions when it doesn't seem like he's really that close to the preparation of the budget like Mark is. Should we be going over this stuff?
I think Ben is doing a good job and saying what he can say and what he can't. So
Right. And he's saying, I think, I'm not sure we're really getting the answers that are the final answers. Because Ben, did you prepare the budget with Mark?
No.
Okay, so.
No, it was only watching council meetings to see where they got it. And I know they pulled the money kind of from different areas that it was, that they thought they could do it to.
Well,
I don't know where those
are. Dominic, but I just don't feel like.
So Francis, could you make a point? We could, a note to review that question with Mark. And I'm sure Ben will write a note as well. Thank you, Jim. That's a good point.
Sure.
The other thing is the groundskeeper. You said, Ben, there was an additional groundskeeper. Is that for Parks and Rec or is that for the golf course?
Those are The additional groundskeeper is for parks.
Okay,
Yeah, and it's a proposal. Those are some of the things that we're adding into our proposed budget, but that hasn't even gone to town manager level. We're even still kind of doing an internal review in our kind of each department with Mark that he'll present to the town manager.
okay, so he's
Yeah.
gonna present
So
that.
these things are are things that he's thinking that he's putting in there to go to the town manager.
Is there another thing you might follow up with Mark on? You mentioned that 25% of the superintendent's cost is moving from Parks and Rec to Shenecosset.
Yeah,
I think that also equates to 25% of his time, because I recall that Eric spends 25% of his time in Park and Rec.
correct. So now that there's the position for the manager of
Right.
parks. He won't be doing that time with parks anymore. Parks will have its own sort of division head, and so that's why it's no longer coming out of the parks budget.
So is Shenecosset going to get some increased level of service from Eric for that 25% budget?
I guess it will be 25% more attention that he doesn't have to kind of pay to parks or kind of deal with those things that were happening there on a daily basis and be able to focus on the golf course again.
Right, so that's a lot of money. When you think 25% of his salary, 25% of his pension, 25% of his medical benefits. Do you have any idea what Shenecosset's going to get for that 25% of his time?
That would definitely be a Mark question.
Would you mind mentioning that to Mark?
Yep.
I think that all falls into it. And if you know this, Ben, that's fine. But if you don't, I think all the golf course people, I think we heard Mark say last time, get paid out of the revenues for the golf course. So I assume this would be no different. Like it's just just that fund is just adjusted now accordingly. Does that
I
make
think
sense?
it's just maybe better service, Michael, sounds nice. I wonder what,
I think they get paid out of the revenue, but some of their benefits are also paid from the town.
I think it's an allocation that the budget
Right.
do. They'll take his whole thing and move 25% over to Parks and Rec,
But what, Jim, you and Ben, what I am confused by when you say 25% of, I understand the financial, but now what was he doing for rec? I guess I'm confused by that.
It wasn't for parks. He was overseeing parks while Jeff was the foreman over there.
So when I see his truck going around, he's going to one of the parks other than the golf course.
Yes.
Oh, I
That
didn't.
was my understanding,
That's
yeah.
new to me. Thank you. I had no idea.
Yeah. So from the time I think it's been set up that way since the time that Jeff kind of took over and they made that switch to just a foreman.
I see. Wow.
Yeah.
Well, that's news to me.
So for the purposes of the meeting minutes, are we asking Mark to communicate this information to us through an email, or are we tabling the questions for the next meeting?
I would table the questions. If everybody agrees, we should discuss it and have Mark explain it to us, unless people feel differently.
No, I agree, Dominic. I agree. Yep.
I will make the note.
Thank you. Anything else about the golf course, folks?
Yeah, I just have a few follow-ups for Ben. I'm not sure if it's for you, Ben, or should we defer these till Mark? Remember, we had the issue of the restrooms being approved by RTM. And then there was the fence fix that you brought up, Dominic. I don't know if Ben knows the progress of fixing the fence. between hole 13 and 18, and then there was the bridge that we brought up between holes 8 and 9, and then there was the bathroom upgrade in the clubhouse. I don't know where that one is. And then Mark was going to give us the income statements by month, which he didn't get for us, but he told me in an email this morning that he was going to get it. So those are some of the follow-ups I have that I don't know if Ben could address them, or should we wait for Mark?
Yeah, I don't,
My guess is we're waiting for Mark. That's what I would get.
yeah,
All right.
yeah, he didn't have any of those in the project updates
Yeah,
that I
so
see.
there's quite a few out there, if you could tell them, Ben. All right, you want me to list those again?
Yeah, I got the bathrooms,
That
bridge,
were approved by the RTM, those were the bathrooms that were on the course itself. I have no idea where that is. And then there was the fence fix. What's that road, Dominic? Is it Eastern Point Road? On Eastern Point Road? They were
Eastern,
disrepair. Right, that was the second one. Then there was the bridge that was in disrepair between holes 8 and 9 on the course. And then there were the bathrooms in the clubhouse, Ben. I have no idea where the progress on those is. Okay, and then we're still expecting to see the income statement by month.
okay.
okay. Anything else about the golf course? Let's
Now,
move.
other than the letter that he sent out.
Well, he wanted it, he asked me to do that under new business.
Okay,
So trails and coordinating task force. Okay. Have anything under that, Ben?
No,
Okay,
other than that they were kind of looking at this, complete streets project and looking at consultants for that.
okay,
If the street trees is falling under the trails.
okay, to athletic fields.
And it was the same thing, they're interviewing kind of consultants now, and there really isn't any other updates on it.
Well, the fields up at the GCC look pretty nice, I can tell you that.
Yeah,
They really do. I hate to even ask the next question about agency accreditation.
it is, stalled, I think he
Okay.
figures through budget season.
Okay,
But yeah, I would, with the kind of being fully staffed, at least over here.
Yep.
Hopefully it would be moving in the right direction.
okay, any unfinished business? Anything? New business, so let's move to the letter that Mark sent to us. That he wrote in coordination with Eric and the pro at Shenecasset. Everybody have a chance to read it?
I
yes.
did, yep.
Okay, any thoughts about it? Basically, they're looking to cap the 454 members, and they're seeking, they've gotten complaints evidently, and they want a cap membership. And Ben, is that all membership? Is that full members, limited members? That's everything, right?
Yes,
Okay, so, and they want to push back an hour, allow the membership to be able to get more time for their tea times, an hour, and I gather that's each day. Is that correct, Jim? Is
Yeah,
that
I
how
think
you
that
read
would
it?
be every day, yeah. Yep.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I personally am fine with it. I think the golf course may, I think it's a double-edged sword. I think by extending the hour, you're gonna lose the greens fees from people that aren't members. And there's been a lot more play. So if they feel they're the professionals, if they feel that they need to do that, then, who am I? I don't know if anybody has any feelings along those lines.
I
Well,
have
my feel,
strong feelings. Go ahead,
thank you.
Elizabeth. Yeah, go ahead, go first.
By virtue of accepting the money for a season pass, I think the golf course has made a commitment to providing the service a season pass holder expects. The casual player who's, dropping in when possible is of course a very valuable customer, but I think you have to honor that commitment first. Along that line, reading this memo, I was trying to figure out, Mark said the current season pass count holder is 454. Does he want to cap it at 400 and through attrition reduce that 454 down to 400? Do you have any idea, Ben? Because he talked about a 10% attrition rate each year.
Yeah, it sounds like that 400 was what they found to be the kind of sweet spot of being able to
Okay.
balance it. So yes, it would be putting a hold on any new memberships. Anybody that is a member would be able to continue to renew. And then it would be forming some sort of wait list if those came off and then eventually spots opened up.
Okay, that's gonna be quite a while then.
Yeah,
Yeah, because it's not like a January 1. It's sort of whenever you signed up. So
Yeah.
that's why I think one of the reasons they want to move forward with this sooner than later. So I think they were hoping to have a motion in support of it today, so they can, if there were people thinking about doing it for Christmas presents, or that they can kind of hold where they are for now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Jim, you had some thoughts
yeah,
on?
I can't approve this. I'll tell you why. I just don't feel like we as a Park and Rec Commission have enough data here. I think you asked the first right question, Dominic, in the beginning of the meeting. I think maybe it was before the meeting. What is the ratio of revenue per play for members versus the greens fee people, right?
Yep.
I have a feeling it's like 3-1. There are a lot of members that play a lot. If you
Right.
look on the tee sheet, there are members that play 5 days a week. Okay. And they're, for the lack of a better word, part of the problem. They jam up the tee sheet for the members that don't play as often. So unless we have kind of like those analytics to know what we're dealing with, I can't approve it, because I really don't know what lowering the membership by 10% will actually do. Because I think it might be an 80-20 rule where 80%, 20% of the members use 80% of the tee times. Okay, and I don't know how it makes sense to defer revenue like that, or just forego it for a period of 6 months or a year. That seems short-sighted to me. Okay, because you're going to have a lot of new people. We do have a lot of new people coming into the area, and that's what the golf course is all about, is trying to attract new people to Groton. Yet we're going to hold on to the old members, at the sacrifice of new members. It doesn't make sense to me. And then you're sacrificing revenue at the same time. I don't understand it, because I can't see the data.
Right.
I really don't know what they base their decision on. You know, one thing we might think about doing is capping the number of rounds a member can play. You know, we might find that there's like 200 or 100 members that play 5 days a week. Is that fair to the people that are paying greens fees? You know what I mean? There's a lot of issues here. That seems like a pretty simplistic solution. I'm not really sure what they base their solution on. I just don't feel comfortable at this time approving that because I don't really know what it's going to do. We might find that the membership goes down by 10%, but the amount of rounds doesn't go down by 10%.
Yeah.
Make any sense? I don't know. We haven't been given any support behind their decision.
Anybody else?
Yeah, I kind of agree with Jim. I'd like to see some of the data on how much of the time is taken up by members versus people who are doing the daily rates. And I agree, is it the same members taking up a lot of slots? So yeah, some more data would help us know how to better make a informed decision.
Okay.
And following up on that, I think it would also necessitate a close examination of the rules under which the memberships are issued. For instance, put a cap on how many rounds a week a member can play, because how else are you going to reduce that overwhelming amount of play
Yep.
to the exclusion of others?
Right. Hey, Dominic, one other thing that I noticed about Shinnecock that's a little unusual is they allow the reservations to anybody, and there's a lot of cancellations. As an example, if I go there at 12 o'clock or 11 o'clock, you know, which is a little bit past the prime time, everybody seems to want to play between 7 in the morning and 11. If I just show up on the course at 11:30 or 12:30 or 1, the tee sheet's full, but there's nobody on the first tee. I could just walk on. There's a lot of people that make a reservation and they don't show up, and there's no penalty. So it could be that a lot of the members may be looking for tee times and it looks full and it's not, because I've seen that time and time again.
Oh,
Now,
that's
yes,
interesting.
it happens a lot. There's a lot of courses that ask people to put in $10 on their charge card when they make the reservations. Now, Shinnecock, it's never done that, and I'm not suggesting we do, but I always thought there was an issue with no accountability on people making reservations and not showing up. Okay. Maybe the management agrees with me, maybe they don't, but that's my experience. You know,
Good point.
And that's part of the issue with the tee sheet, I think, is people just making reservations, and if it's bad weather, or so-so weather, they just don't show up. Like, yeah, you know, if you're not going to be penalized, just throw it on there. It's
Right.
electronic. You don't even talk to anybody. You know, it's kind of not good. It's not good. So I wonder really how full the tee sheets are in actuality. That's another analysis that I think ought to be done. How many people cancel? You know, so there's a lot of issues here behind that decision. I don't think that we're just asking a lot of questions, and maybe they
Right.
have answers, but I just don't feel comfortable here going with that policy. I just hate to give up revenue like that. You know, there's a lot of new people coming. God, I see them all the time on the golf course. I'm down in Florida now, but in the fall, I would see so many new EB people coming onto that course, and it's like, why do you want to, you know, kind of forgo that revenue, those memberships? You know, they play after work too.
It's
You know?
interesting because
Yeah.
Elizabeth can remember and Francis can remember a number of years ago, we were trying to attract the membership.
Yeah.
And they did a good job because now they
Yeah.
want to cap it.
Yeah.
It worked.
It worked. That's right. So so here we are. Would anybody like to make a motion to approve capping the membership and also adding an hour for the members to play? Or do you feel there needs to be more discussion before we propose that?
Can we propose tabling this pending further data being shared with us?
Yeah, I was,
Like that.
I would feel strongly about that. That would be fine with me. People that were buying Christmas presents are gonna be out of luck, I guess.
Well,
Or
no, they're in luck,
In luck, yeah.
in luck.
There you go.
Yeah, and that's what Mark said, that if there were questions about it, he would talk further about it. That
Okay.
go to the next meeting, and I've made notes kind of the information you guys want.
So do people feel comfortable tabling this to our next meeting?
I would make that motion, Dom, that we table this topic for the meeting in January for further discussion and more data.
Yeah,
Great.
I'd second that one. Yep.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 All those against? Okay, so moved. And there was a lot of things I did not know. You know, on the golf committee, is that open to non-resident and residents, or is that all residents on the golf committee? Does anybody know that answer?
I don't.
I just know the golf committee is kind of like chaired by Eric, or what's the pro's name again? I forget it.
Todd.
Todd. And there's like a small board of like 4 or 5 people. I
Oh.
didn't know if that it was ever attended by the public at all.
Okay.
It was just kind of a little cloistered group there.
Oh, I thought it was a big, I hear committee and I think of
No,
a larger group. And I'm
it's not. And they always have trouble getting members on that committee. You know, it's
Oh.
small. Yeah.
Ben, do
It's
you have
on
any
the town
idea?
website.
Okay, do you have any idea about that? The residents?
I don't, I was trying to look to see if it was
Okay.
right here.
Okay, so that,
Yeah, I don't have a quick answer for you.
okay. You said you're gonna have a quick answer or no?
No,
quick-
it doesn't look
Okay.
like it. If I get it, I'll let you know.
All right, so moving along in new business, meetings for 2024. How do folks feel about that? I mean, I think we're doing okay with it, you know, does everybody else feel good about the Thursdays, as opposed to our old Wednesday meetings?
Either day works for me. I like the 7 o'clock meeting. I
Me
think that-
too.
This works fine for me.
Sounds good, Francis?
Yes, I like it. I think it's better too because then Mark's not torn if there's an RTM meeting the same night.
Right. Sounds good. Okay, election of officers.
And then, oh, there was a couple of questions with it. Last year you had 4 hybrid meetings at different locations. Did you want to do those again? And identify which ones they are? And also with that, I guess the February 8th is the meeting with the golf course
All right.
advisory board, so that would not be a hybrid meeting. Cause that's the one to set the rates and the rules,
Okay, so that's in person. All righty.
or no, not in person, I think.
Oh, okay, so that's
That would be a Zoom meeting.
Yeah, that'll be Zoom.
yeah. February 8th.
You know, when we've had in-person meetings, we've often had residents join us. They haven't been as likely to happen during Zoom meetings. I know, I'm just thinking of some of the on-site ones we've had.
Yeah, it looks like last year was Thrive, GCC, Mystic River Magnet School, and one at Spicer House.
I know Mike, and I don't want to speak for him, has liked the fact that it's in moving around the town. So I would support that as well. I don't know how folks feel about it.
I think we're gonna have to check on the physical location after the meeting at the Mystic River Magnet School. We were all sitting on
Yeah,
chairs.
yeah, you're right, you're right.
That was a challenge.
Well, I'm sure they have a teacher's lounge where we probably could have, yeah, where we probably could have set up, but I guess that takes a little more planning. Anyway, so the answer to the question about the meeting dates will keep the same. The how we're going to distinguish between what is in person and what's not. How do people feel about that? I mean, I don't mind this audiovisual meeting, the Zoom meeting. I think it's good for Mark. I think it's good. He could be at home. Ben's probably at home right now as well. So
I'm actually in the office. It looks like home.
Oh God.
I thought I recognized it.
Ben. God. Somebody's got to talk to that guy.
Long day.
Yeah. No, I have a soccer game after, so it was easier to do it here, go right there without the kids around.
God. So
I like
don't know how we-
I mean, my vote is I like the mix of in person. I would let Mark choose where we went. I mean, my original intent was to try to visit different places that the Parks and Rec utilizes. I think half the places were Parks and Rec, half there were just like community places. So I leave it up to you guys to say where you'd want to do it. I did like the in person. I am okay with if we wanted to make the in persons earlier so that it's after Mark's workday or something. That's fine. Or even if we want to do the Zoom ones later at night or something like that, right? Like that's fine too. Either one works, but there's options. It doesn't always have to be 7 o'clock every Thursday. We can, if we set a meeting schedule, that's fine too. I'd rather, sometimes I have conflicts because an event I do is always the same third Thursday of like the month. So I'd almost ask to maybe we consider we keep Thursdays. I think we're doing the second, what do we do now? What's this, the second one?
Second.
I'd ask maybe we move it to the third just because an event I like to do in the summer always happens to be on the second Thursday, but Thursdays are fine, if that's possible, but times are open. So that's my take over.
Okay.
I can move to the third Thursday. That's not a problem for me.
Not a problem for me.
Me either. I'm fine with that.
The third Thursday isn't a problem for me, but if we're going to change the times, I would need to know kind of far in advance if I can make it, just because with all the activities that are going on right now, I try to schedule them around it. So as long as there's advance notice about any time change, otherwise I might not be able to make it.
Yeah,
Is
I'd
that-
almost vote we leave the time as is, and then if Mark comes back that in-persons are better earlier or later, we revisit that next meeting, and then the group makes a consensus. That would be my kind of motion or ask.
And I would agree. We could have a meeting in January and say, hey, you know what, for February, let's meet a little earlier or something. And with consensus, like you say, we could do it like that. But I would like to see it continue at 7. And then thereafter, if somebody would like to make a motion to meet earlier at 6, I'm fine with that too, to tell you the truth. So I'd say we're still on we could go third Thursday and then at 7 o'clock. And then the time is not in stone.
Wait, do we know if Mark can make it the third Thursday? Maybe we should hold off on making that decision so he can be.
Oh,
Awesome.
Good point.
I'm glad you thought of that, Francis.
He's an important person.
Yeah.
I love you guys, but I don't know if he wants me here every month.
Yeah, so maybe just put in the meeting minutes, the proposal is the third Thursday at 7 with, if that date or time doesn't work, we'll make a motion next time to do it. Maybe just word it like that in the meeting minutes. Then we just
Sounds
talk
good.
about it in the minute item.
Yeah, I'm
Sounds
just that we're proposing it and we'll talk about it later to make decisions.
Sounds good. That's a great idea.
And the only
Okay,
thing I had
let's,
is, so just before we move on.
It does look like on the third Thursdays, he does have something on his calendar typically.
It could be any Thursday. I don't.
But
Sorry, you said it does on the third Thursdays?
it looks like that he has something both the second and third. I can't see what things are though, so I don't know.
right.
Well, we have it noted that that's something we're considering. For January, or we stick the second Thursday for
I
now?
would, I would say yes.
Okay, so for January, we're sticking with the second Thursday, and there we'll talk about what to do moving forward.
Sounds good.
Plan?
Yes. February 8th too, because that's the Gulf Advisory Board, right?
Yeah, so
Right.
so January and February, I would think would
Those-
need to stay the same.
Okay.
So when is the next meeting? It's not January 11th?
It is January 11th and then February 8th.
February 8th, okay.
So before we moved on, I got off the panelist because I dropped my call, kind of dropped my phone and came back on. But I'd make a recommendation. So we talked a lot about the golf. There was lots of questions and everything on the golf one. I think it would make sense for next time, so we have a healthy discussion, if everyone could email Mark their questions. This way Mark has some quote unquote homework to do and then could come to the table with facts and we could actually have a discussion on the facts. So everyone had lots of good questions, maybe email to Mark, and then we could ask Mark to take an action to look into them with as like facts he provides us in the email so that we can discuss them next meeting. Sorry, missed the ball, but yeah.
Ben, I wrote in the notes that I think you said you took notes about the data we're seeking already that we talked about tonight. Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
But I think Mike has a good idea that if there's other stuff that we think of, because there's a lot to ponder, that we should email so he can have it in advance. I'm gonna make a note of that.
Yeah, that sounds good. Thanks. I didn't know if we captured it also. Appreciate it.
Okay, election of officers.
I guess for the meeting dates, do you need Mark to kind of propose which days are hybrid? Or does this need to be voted on for the year?
I think in the conversation that I was hearing, it sounds like we would Mark would do that, and I think he's done that in the past. Would everybody agree about that?
That's my impression, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we almost give him the feedback and he'd come with a schedule and a time and we just say yep or no when he does that.
Yeah.
I think that's good.
Okay, perfect.
Okay, election of officers. Where do we go from here? So would anybody like to be the chair? Would anybody like to take it over? It's not it's not a problem. Who's the vice president anyway? Who's the next in line?
Well, I'm listed as the vice chair on the town
Okay.
website.
Okay.
Okay, would you
I thought
like,
Mark said Mike was, but
Oh, okay.
could be wrong.
I thought I was, but I could have sworn that I've not done it for a year. That was what was confusing. But maybe I have. Maybe I'm just getting older and I don't know.
Well, now I'll tell you, I always thought you were the vice, but I was surprised to find myself listed. So, okay. Mike, I cede the role to you with great pleasure.
I mean, I'm fine being it. I mean, it's up to you guys, but I have no problem doing that. If that's what's being asked, I'm good with that.
Yeah, I mean, each position really is really not a problem. So if anybody would like to chair the meeting, be my guest, please. Elizabeth, I think you might do a good job with it.
Once I finish my next term as president of Club
Okay.
55, that one's,
Okay.
I was actually wondering if Elizabeth wants to be the secretary, because I think she takes fantastic meeting minutes.
oh, Francis, it's good this is a
that was a good
virtual
one.
meeting. I
Yeah,
appreciate your doing it.
I'm glad no one's saying anything about me. I'm no good at anything, so.
Well, I'll be Francis' assistant secretary. How's that?
If
And
anybody
right
else,
after she's done with Thrive, so just keep pushing that out there. Buy her some time.
I'm writing down that Dom Bassey is going to continue to be the chair. Michael DeFranco is going to be the vice chair. We don't know who is right now, apparently. Um, and,
No, we don't have to duel it out.
There you
and
go.
do you guys want me to write myself still as secretary? Does anybody else want to take over that role? I don't mind at all if you do.
I appreciate your doing it.
And you do a good job with it.
Certainly.
Nice of you to say, but thank you. All right, are those the only 3 positions as far as elected officers?
I believe so.
As far as I know.
Yeah, I believe so. So do we have to vote on that? See, this is where, Elizabeth, you always direct me in the right direction. So do we have to vote on our new slate of officers?
Why don't we do it for the record? And then
There
we'll
we
know
go.
for sure who
Just
vice
that.
chair is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think a
I think
motion.
you need to make a motion, you need a second, and then you need discussion, and then you vote on it.
Right.
Sounds
So
good.
I make a motion that our officers of the 2024 Parks and Rec Commission, Chairman Don Bassey, Vice Chair Michael DeFranco, Secretary Francis Whitney.
I'll second that motion. Mike beat me to it. Any discussion?
I think we had it already.
I think we have it. So moved.
No, we have asked us to vote.
Oh, you gotta vote.
Oh, we have to vote. That's right. Thanks. See, Elizabeth? Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, so.
And so we're clear, it's from January to December, right? Calendar year?
I assume that we have to elect them now, but we have to do it January to December.
Yeah, I think this
Okay.
corresponding date would be, we would be, at the corresponding date would be voting again.
I'm good with that. I would just say that we'll put that down in case someone asks, that it's that to that in the notes. I'm good,
Okay.
thanks.
You're welcome. So Ben, budget highlights, is that your foray?
Yeah, I think that's actually, I ended up running through it on the director's report.
So you already did it.
Yeah.
All right.
But I guess if there's any other questions, I mean, it's really in the beginning stages at this point. And
Okay.
nothing's been officially kind of proposed, but those were a few of the things that I think Mark had in mind.
Okay.
I remember last meeting, Mark said, I thought it was this one in January, he's gonna give us what he's gonna recommend to the town council. Do you know, Ben, if that's true, when, like, he's gonna come up with some list, like, these are like a sample, right? He's gonna come up with a full, like, 1 to X projects, right? Maybe 1 to 20 with priority. Do you know when he plans to do that by chance, Ben?
A few of them were listed in those proposed budget highlights. I don't know if he has another one like more detailed than that. I mean, certainly by the next meeting, we will have, I mean, pretty much everything in. I think January 2nd is our deadline to have things in news to review. So Things would certainly be firmed up by then.
By
At least what we were
January
going
2nd,
to
you're
the
saying?
town manager with.
So
So-
the second is when you have to have them in, like, any projects you want, you said?
And that's when he gave up all the division heads the date to have our things entered into Munis. Which,
But that's not when it goes forward to,
yeah, I think that's our day that we would
Right.
be reviewing the recreation stuff.
okay.
Yeah, I guess what I'm just getting at is like, right, like, I don't know if I missing a project, something I wanted or not. I was hoping that we would have here's all the projects, nothing else included. We all agree that those are the right projects, and then we would vote on the top ones. So sounds like we still have an opportunity to vote on the top ones, but it sounds like we will not have a chance as a council, which to me is a little disappointing, to talk about which ones are in the proposed mix for next year.
Okay. And did he bring forward like CIP projects?
I
Yes.
want to say the last time he brought some stuff, like he gave us like in November, he gave us a list, but it wasn't full. He's like, oh, I'm still working on it. Then we see more now. I just don't know, like,
Okay.
is it the ones we had then and this one? Is there more? Like, I was looking for like I call it a full packet, right? And we've gotten like piecemeal, and I don't think I've gotten all the chapters. That's just my
Yeah,
kind of,
the CIPs were due earlier, so I think those have been established at this point. But I can have him send that out to you.
That would
yeah,
be
that would be
great.
good, just because I didn't see everything that I thought would be in it last time we talked, and I don't. Maybe there was a new version and we don't have it.
Was there anything particular that you were thinking about that you didn't see that you thought was gonna be in there?
I mean, like, so I think two of us on the council both live on the Heather Glen area, right? And like they took out a bunch of benches in our parks. They're supposed to redo one maybe, but that wasn't in there. I know that there was a big survey from the like all the parks and fields and recommendations of what to improve, right? So I was going to bounce basically the final list off that recommendation and see, like, are we proposing projects in the area that the study that we paid for said that we should improve, right? Like, I was going to literally print them both out side by side and do like a comparison, but if I don't have list A, I can't compare it to list B. So that's one example I needed, but I wanted to do that side by side. I didn't do it until I had both facts, both reports.
Mike, are you talking about the master plan?
Yeah, like the master plan, like they gave us and part of it, he gave us like the quality. There was like a scorecard per park. I was gonna look
Right.
through that and then say, hey, they recommended something here. Hey, was this potentially in the mix? Or if there was something recommended that wasn't in any of those mixes, I was gonna be like, why are we putting that on the CIP versus something here? So I don't know if I can say that because I don't have both things next to me where I
Right.
can do that analogy.
The market distributed the CIP for 25 to 28, but not with detail. But this was at the October meeting. That's what I was getting up to find. So
Yeah,
it really is a case of fleshing out what he gave us at the October meeting.
Yeah, I do. That was it. Thanks. And I think he said that there was more going into it than just what was in that October meeting
Oh,
too.
yeah,
That's what I remember. So
they're
that's what I'm
definitely
getting at.
blanks. Yeah.
Okay, so anything more about the budget and anything else that we want to discuss at this time? Our next meeting is, did we say the 11th of January?
Yes.
Okay. So the 11th of January sounds good, and that's the second Thursday, and it'll be at 7 o'clock, and we can talk about future dates and times at that meeting.
It's virtual, right? Just for clarification.
Pardon?
Virtual, that one.
The
Yes.
January meeting, yeah.
Yep, okay. I'll put it in my calendar now. So that's good.
Anything for the good of the order? Okay,
Have a
so,
good everybody.
so
Enjoy.
everybody
Merry
have a
Christmas all.
very, very Merry Christmas and enjoy the holidays and all of that good stuff. Ben, thank you for being here. Really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
So, anyway,
Good night. See
Good
you,
night.
everybody.
Bye-bye.
good night, everybody.
Good
Bye-bye.
night.